Hey guys, how you doing?
Doing good, man. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you, dude.
It really, really is. Actually, I can't believe this is the first time we've done a video interview, over the years.
Bro, we were just like, we've talked about that a couple times leading up to this. But yeah, man, you may not know this, but you were literally the first person like in the, in the metal sphere or in the music sphere to actually pick up on Pathos and Logos and help us out, man. So
Yeah.
big thank you.
Yeah, dude, we were really excited to finally talk to you.
Yeah, it's like coming full circle for us.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. It's still great to be following along with you at this point in time as well, particularly after, what's been going on the last couple of years. But just to go straight up one with you, how's your day going? How's your weekend been?
I can't complain. Everything's been going pretty good here. It's like 110 million degrees outside.
Fucking hot, bro.
Yeah,
it's hot.
So this gives us a really great excuse to be inside in the air conditioning.
That's right.
Be honest, man, it's hot over here as well in the UK. I don't know we're about 28 degrees Celsius at the moment, which is hot for this country.
Oh,
right.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. I think that's just shy of 100 degrees for us.
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
So you guys yeah.
Fuck.
Wow, you're well ahead then. I mean, aside from that as well, what's really cool as well, you guys look like you've been keeping pretty busy as of late. And I guess at this point, it must just be great to kind of be able to actually do things again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a pleasure. And yeah, getting around, man, doing the thing. There definitely seems to be a sense of forward motion or traction that's happening right now. And we're here for it, man, for sure.
Well, I've got to take you back a bit then and talk about the last couple of years, really. And really overall, how did you guys cope over the past, say, 3 years and the pandemic period?
Yeah, I mean, really the best way to cope was through music and, our artistic expression. For what it's worth, that may be why there are so many layers to the onion that is the cult recording, because without having an outlet for all this during the pandemic, we really sunk into what was going to be the extracurricular activities surrounding the music, I guess. But I mean, yeah, that's.
One of the things that just on the subject of like finding ways to cope, obviously, as Kyle said, we dug in pretty hard into the creativity side of it. But one of the things that I remember because I do a lot of local gigs and stuff, I've played in a bunch of different bands, different styles. And I remember thinking to myself repeatedly during that very trying interval where you couldn't go anywhere. It's almost like going out and performing live is like a vitamin that some people need to take. Mm-hmm. And if you don't get to take that vitamin, things start to go wrong, man. It's tough.
Was there anything you kind of had to adapt to? Because obviously it was an extended period of time where, at least from our perspective in the UK, you'd go 6 months and think, okay, well, maybe things will be better in 6 months. Then a year went by, then a year and a half, then 2 years. And then we're at the state of play as we are now in 2022. What did you do to kind of adapt to that?
I guess the best way I would answer that question is I think everybody just got more invested and involved on the internet. We've done more like social media stuff, or let's just call it fan engagement, just engaging with our fans in one way, shape, or another throughout the day, every single day over the last couple of years. And it's just been way more than usual. And I think I would attribute that to us having the time, but other people just having the available time too. They want to know what we're up to,
I will not describe the last couple of years, any aspect of it, as a blessing in disguise. Nothing has been a blessing about it. But maybe a better way to put it is being sort of cooped up like that, trying to connect and reach out to people using the internet as a tool has had an unintentional ancillary benefit of giving us other avenues of reaching people,
I mean, you're not alone with trying to find any positive out of this period. Every band and artist we've spoken to over the past couple of years, even during the harsher points of the pandemic period, has kind of said the same thing, where there's almost a guilt complex about suggesting there was anything positive during it, but there have been some things to drag from it. I mean, was it easy for you, particularly in regards to how social media is used these days? Was it easy for you to kind of join the ranks, as it were, and really start to try and connect with the audiences? Or was that something that you've never felt overtly comfortable with?
I think it's fair to say that there was a learning curve. You know, it took a little bit of getting used to, and I'm not afraid to tell you too that we also somewhat recently have reached out to certain resources to try and make sure that we were approaching what we were doing in an effective way. Because there's an entire method and a science kind of behind just that's the best way to put it, is reaching people the most effectively. So we definitely did a lot of work trying to get organized in a meaningful way with that stuff, and it's quite a pace to keep, that's for sure.
The ever-changing algorithms, no one seems to have it down.
Yeah.
Did you take sort of props and ideas as well? As you say, pretty much everybody suddenly had to refocus in music and to refocus and jump online, and we saw this sort of slow build from Facebook live streams with music and stuff like that to full production shows being done, something we've never really seen before. What ideas did you get from that?
Oh, you know, that's a great question. I think most people would give you like technical answers, be like, oh, we want to do this mega production and this and that. My answer to you is what I got from it is it made me feel old. Because normally, the reason I say that is because normally, like, man, I can tell you how to make a recording. I can tell you how to make a CD. I can tell you how to produce a vinyl, this and that and the other thing. If I had to put together an online production to the quality of the most recent what's the band I'm looking for here? Behemoth, their last production, I wouldn't be able to tell you how to do it. I would have to rely on everybody else to do it for me. And so, it makes me feel a little out of touch, honestly.
We're definitely, as individuals and certainly as a band, pretty focused on autonomy and self-agency, the ability to do things without having to farm needs or responsibilities out. And I'm right there with you, man. Yeah, there's just some of the more recent ways that bands have been performing and connecting on the internet. It's its own school. It's its own thing.
Yeah, we've had fans talk to us about the production value of our YouTube videos and like making them a little better. And the honest to God's truth is we don't know how.
It's funny that we have been talking about this a little bit earlier. It's very interesting trying to keep pace because you don't think about it. You're so focused on trying to like learn this about this live performance, do this live stream, or be consistently producing content to try and keep up with everything that's going on. And you do almost have moments of like, oh wait, we're a band.
Yeah,
like, when was the last time we wrote a song?
Yeah,
to getting out on the road and like trying to do promotional ads to augment the number of people coming out to a particular place that we've never been to before. It's like, drumsticks. What do I do with these?
Yeah, got to be doing stuff with those too, right?
It's almost, you're right, it's become a second job, a daily post on across all these platforms. Jump on TikTok, do a short video, jump on YouTube, do all the editing and things that require that. I don't envy it in that aspect. And it seems like I don't really know of anyone, even the most down-to-earth and understanding social media manager will still tell you how much they struggle with it too. So I don't think there's any perfect. And even as of recent, I think as of at least yesterday, and I think in the next couple of days, using Facebook an example, if you run a page over there, that entire system is about to change. So good luck getting used to that again. Yeah, if you're not aware, I've already experienced it. Be prepared for that, guys.
What are you talking about?
We
don't even,
Yep. There's an entire new setup and design that is going to be hard to get the grips with. It's supposed to be more streamlined. Obviously, from that side, they sell it to us, but Yeah, I've struggled with it. After going a couple of years of seemingly understanding it, it's now back to square one. So if you guys have a page, of course you do, be prepared.
Wow.
So it doesn't like delete the page and all that stuff. It just kind of restructures and reorganizes the way it's done.
Yeah, layout and how you access it. Likes are going completely. It's just going to be followers now. So there's a lot in it. Yeah. I wish I could say I got a great, but just a heads up, I guess, if you're not already aware then.
Thank you. Yeah, we had no idea.
News to us. Yeah.
Give it a week, and one of the other platforms will change as well. It's a constantly shifting world, as we've discussed. Sticking one more for the pandemic period, really, for you, and I guess this is to kind of keep it focused on the positive side of things. Do you think there's anything during the past couple of years that you were forced to do that you've learned, and that's improved yourselves as individuals, but also as a collective unit?
You know what? I have thought about that a lot. Not just us as individuals and as a band, but I think society in a general way, being forced, literally by force, to stop. I feel like forced a specific kind. There are people who hadn't had any kind of, vacation has positive implications. So maybe a better word would be pause. There's people that hadn't had any kind of a pause in their daily, weekly, monthly, yearly routine since summer vacation in high school. And I think it forced a lot of people to take a step back and reevaluate what they were calling their lives. You get so accustomed to running these patterns over and over again, and you think that that's your life. And then all of a sudden, when you have nothing to do, you have no access to anything, can't go out, can't do anything, and you suddenly become vested with the responsibility of constructing your daily life, fashioning your own life. It's very disarming. People were used to their job. People were used to the places that they go and the things that they used to do, handing them what they called their lives. And then all of a sudden you're like, nope, you have to do it. You have to find a way to stay stimulated. You have to find a way to stay mentally healthy. You have to find a way to stay physically healthy. It's so if it engendered introspection, then maybe there's something to that,
Well said. Incredible. Guys, of course, the main reason we're here, the main reason we're having a chat is the recently released new EP, Cult. So give us some idea then, when did this first start to take shape? And was the original vision that you had when you first started to, build it very clear to you?
Okay, so I guess the ideas for it originally began to take shape when we were like pressing Glory to the Order back in the day. Because at that time, I mean, we were still kind of a baby band at that point, and having to come up with the artwork and discovering what our quote unquote image or brand would be at that point in time. I remember sitting down with Paul at a restaurant, kind of looking at him, and he's looking at me like, what are we gonna do? I don't know, man, And so it really forced us to take a look at ourselves from a listener's perspective, I guess. And at that point is when we started putting the wheels in motion for how Cult would be, what it would look like and what it would sound like, for sure. From there, I mean, it gets a little dicey. I mean, the actual idea of releasing it as tarot cards and a coffee table book with all these different steps and the mythos and stuff that goes along with it, it was really kind of spurned from just sleep deprivation, driving back, late night from San Angelo, Texas, or something like that.
Something to that effect. Yeah, that came out of just the ether. But Kyle and I have a kind of a self-styled or self-fashioned occult approach. I'm sure you're probably aware, Carl, to your tremendous credit, you've been with us from the beginning, baby.
Yep.
And we thank you for your consistent and continued support. But we brought in this kind of self-styled occult concept into Pathos and Logos. It existed before, and we decided we were going to work it in. we weren't sure what to do. That sort of late night drive, trying to come up with the tarot format, we realized that we had to come up with an answer for the way that people are consuming music now. Something that would interface with the way that people really listen to music. A lot of people listen to music on their phone. One of our in previous interviews, a statement that we make all the time is, your phone is the record player now.
Yeah.
You know, and it also you know, was an opportunity for us to kind of weave in visual art into the format, you know, the way that you have such positive associations with the albums you got back in the day, taking the liner notes out, looking at the art and stuff. We wanted that to matter again, you know, and not having words, so there's no lyrics. So we kind of got to use language in a different way too, in the form of the narrative that we have at the bottom of all the cards. So it took some doing. Took some doing.
It really did, yeah.
But some of his inspiration comes at the most honest time, as you said yourself. It made me smile that you referred to Glory to the Order as back in the day. It would make it sound like it's a 10-year-old release.
It feels like it everything before the pandemic feels like it was like the Paleozoic era. It just feels, it's chronologically not that far back, but emotionally it feels like it was like millions of years ago.
That's a good way to put it. Emotionally, it feels like we're so far away from it already at this point. Yes, somebody was asking us about a song from that record called Black Budget, and I honestly, I couldn't even remember like how the middle part went. I had to go back and kind of you know, refresh on that one. We've been so focused on Cults. I know it just came out, but we've actually been working on it for, I mean, the better part of 2 years leading up to it. So
the songs were recorded very early, and we started to perform them before we even knew what we were going to do for the format. So
yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. It's a common theme as well upon releases that have been coming out within this year, that they have been in the works for a longer period of time, which always makes me wonder as well about, obviously when you're hearing this music over and over again on a personal level, how sick of the music you get. And when you get closer to the release and you start to build up the press aspect of things and you're putting videos out and you're talking a bit more, did that refresh the record for you?
Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely refreshed the record for us. It kind of makes you look at it with in a whole new light, you know. Certain songs begin to take on life of their own. For example, Initiation, which is the first track off of Cult. Paul and I didn't really choose that as the first single. It became like the third single or something like that. And it's actually picked up a lot of traction, and people tend to tell us that they like that song quite a bit. You know, and yeah, that's probably the song that we worked on the most off of the record. It didn't come as easy as the other songs did. So yeah, it makes you look at it completely differently.
And I also want to say too, and this is a unique experience for us. Kyle and I have done several bands together in the past, but the Cult record is laden with a lot of different strata of meaning and intention and our thoughts and energy. And so I would say, on the subject of feeling burnt out on performing the songs, you know, unlike certain other music that we may have played at times in the past, this hasn't really run down for us the same way as other stuff. I think it's because we know that it has that richness of organization, and we put so much time and effort into every aspect of it. It's continued, it's stayed rewarding. You know, it didn't, you know, on a long enough timeline, you're driving, you didn't sleep too well, you get up on a stage, or maybe you're a little run down. But I don't know, from that first downbeat, man, gives you something.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it as well. I mean, it's interesting because I don't want to ask, I mean, compared to Glory to the Order, was that aspect, what you're describing there, the most different thing you did when it came to working on Cult? Or was it pretty much the same kind of feelings and process?
So that's, it's definitely a different process. I'll take this one, my guy.
Go for it.
And of course it figures that I don't have the book. So I had spoken about a moment ago about the self-styled occult stuff that Kyle and I did. And I want to make it clear, we didn't like study, you know, musty ancient tomes or something like that. Just we share with a lot of other musicians and a lot of other artists the feeling that it's more than just something that you do. It's like a lifestyle bordering on a passion so deep that it almost feels religious or spiritual. And we just kind of took it that extra step, came up with an entire language, a system of symbols and iconography that have their own meanings that are all related to music, and particularly the way that we like to make it. And so the source material for Cult, we have a book in that language with a series of sigils, and we have rhythms that we use that are connected to the sigils. So by using that particular rhythm, you're vesting the song with that energy. And so the source material for Cult was a magic book, is really what I'm trying to tell you. So it was literally a self-created enchiridion of our own making. And we used the concepts in that book to make the record. So.
Do you find it difficult to express and talk about that aspect that's so integral to you both as individuals, but also the makeup of the band? Because of course, you use certain terminology, whether it be occult, magic, and so on. There is a certain section of people that are going to roll their eyes. Do you feel as though you're able to express clearly and concisely exactly what it means to you and how it works in relation to the music and the band?
I think at first it was a little tough, but now.
Not now. Although I will say that that aspect of it for us, it originated with us. It's not necessarily like there's certain stuff that is available for public consumption, and then there's other stuff about it that we're never going to share because it wasn't designed after this band. It existed already, and it was kind of our own thing. One thing that we're definitely very big on is not shoving that dimension of it in people's faces. If somebody professes curiosity about it, we'll be happy to talk about it. But it's yes, it's a personal thing that we do. Definitely not something that everybody does. There's definitely going to be some people that roll their eyes at it. But if you're interested, come ask us about it. But more than anything else, man, we're just having a good time and going out playing, trying to share our music with everybody.
Yeah.
But you are comfortable talking about it?
Oh yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think at first, we've had so many questions about it at this point. At first, it was kind of like, well, how are we going to explain this to people?
Yeah, we're going to be on blast to tell people what all this weird shit is, man. Like,
yeah, but I think at this point we've sorted most of that out, and yeah, it's become much more. I'm much more comfortable speaking about it. I'm sure Paul is too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, one of the things that really intrigues me about your development of that and how you've utilized it in the Cult is that it is giving you more of an identity, and it's given more of a wider understanding and deeper meaning behind what you're doing. So talk to me in particular about the codex aspect that came with Cult.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the codex aspect of it was, once again, on one of those long drives home, Paul and I were just kind of sleep deprived, and in an effort to keep each other awake and not hit deer, you just start talking about these things. And so one thing that we had been discussing ad nauseum was how vinyl was coming back.
Yes.
And how, vinyl's cool. People are into it, right? And generally when you talk to people about vinyl, the reason that they tell you that they're into vinyl is because the artwork is the focus again, right? And I get that. Like, it started out with artwork being big, and then it just continually shrank until it became this tiny little digital avatar that you can't even see. And so I can get that vinyl in its large format is making a resurgence, right? We can all relate to that. So the other thing with that is art. Like, people were getting away from the art aspect that was associated with music. You'd get this tiny little digital cover image, and that was it. And so we were trying to think about how, moving forward and even into the future, how are people going to be interfacing with music, and how are they going to be experiencing it? So we wanted to make sure that we weren't necessarily tied to a musical platform or a social media platform, right? You can find all of our stuff on the website, and when you interface with the QR codes on on the tarot cards, it doesn't necessarily take you to YouTube. It takes you to our website.
Yep.
So the idea there is to just kind of try and stay ahead of the game as far as where technology is going, but also bring the art back into the experience of music, you know?
I mean, I remember buying the Meshuggah Contradictions Collapse None combo CD and just opening up that disc, and it's just a shot of the five of them standing there with their arms
Totally.
like that. I could never put into words. I'm just looking at them like, look at those geniuses, dude. You know what I mean? Just look at those guys. And all the, I don't know. There's just a feeling that it gives you that you can't describe, and it's precious. It's part of the experience, and that it was largely an endeavor, like Kyle was saying, to just kind of weave all that back in, make the art matter again.
Yeah, make the art matter again. When you download a song these days, you don't get the cool Pantera Far Beyond Driven sleeve that folds out into a poster that you can put on your
with
wall.
the screw going into the dude's head.
Yeah, you don't get that anymore. So, we wanted to, like Paul said, bring the focus back to the artwork, right? So you don't just get one piece of art with Colt, you get 5 different pieces of art with Colt. You get an awesome cover image, and you get a unique like narrative style image for each song.
Yeah.
And people seem to be responding very well to it.
It is very, very attention grabbing, particularly as well, I think, from a perspective, if you know nothing about you, it's something that immediately jumps out and says, hey, I want to look at this and see what it's part and parcel of. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're ignoring the online aspect of things. Anyway, do you create your creativity? Do you feel limited or quite open by what's available? I start to think of things like virtual reality and how you could utilize that aspect into the bands.
Oh yeah, that's a really cool idea. Yes, it makes it seem almost hard to keep up with, We've all heard how quick technology advances, and here we are trying to create a new album format and stuff like that, and we haven't even touched down on like virtual or augmented reality spaces.
Yeah,
I think Snoop Dogg has his own virtual island that you can go party on. Yeah,
that's wild,
right? Like maybe we're missing the boat on that. Maybe we need to create Pathos and Logos Sonia, and it's just
come hang out,
be
with
weird.
us.
Yeah.
It seems like the sky's the limit, provided you've got A, the money, and B, the creativity for it. So you kind of need both.
Yeah, and neither one. I mean, while we have creativity in abundance, the fans still have to bring the money aspect part. So it's a slow build. We'll get there.
No, absolutely. And I guess particularly based off what went on with Colt and what you've now developed in regards to how you want to present yourselves and the music, I'm going to presume, but correct me if I'm wrong, this is now the future. This is how Pathos and Logos goes forward.
Yes, I can tell you with 100% certainty that everything that's going to be released in the future will be released as a codex. I almost don't want to say a codex. The idea of the codex encapsulates all of the music that we've created in the past and into the future. So the idea of the codex is really a compilation or a collection of formulas or spells in the form of songs that we have put together for you. And at a certain point in time, that ends. But yeah, it's not as if we're going to release like 15 codexes. Once the codex is complete, the codex is complete.
Okay, I understand. That makes sense. Well then, talking of which, what can you talk about future wise that you might be working on or what you're planning?
Well, the groundwork for the third portion of the codex is underway, and it's an interesting way to go about it. It's such a different way of composing music or ideating about how you want to make the music and the art. It's literally like, time to write the new record. Opens up weird witchy book that may or may not have some of my blood in it. It really is. Yeah. You can see, everything, the rhythms that we're using, the keys of the songs have been ascribed certain like moods or energy or settings, and So you do. That's it's every song that we are creating at this point, doing it in this format, as Kyle said before, is kind of a spell. You know, it's you really do. You vest it with intentions, and then it takes its place in the grand scheme of the codex, as it were.
Yeah. So all that to say that the groundwork has already been laid. We know that we're going to do either 4 or 5 songs for the next release, if you will.
That's right.
But then we'll also be releasing previous songs into the codex format at the same time. So people will be able to kind of go back, dive deeper into the rabbit hole if they'd like to, as far as they want to go, I suppose.
Yeah.
Awesome. Has the generally positive response to Cult, as the dust is settling a little bit on the release, has that taken you by surprise?
I'd be lying to you if I told you. Yes, we're very surprised. Yeah, even still to this day, it's what you see before you. As you know, Carl, I mean, you've been doing this thing with us for a couple of years now. It's just Paul and I. You know, generally when you're gonna hear about something from Pathos and Logos, you're going to hear about it from us, at least up until recently, right? It's going to be me or Paul contacting you. And so, yeah, to see the world kind of picking up on our crazy idea, it's great, man. I mean, it's fantastic. And it is a surprise because for the longest time, Paul and I were behind the scenes guys. You know, I worked at a recording studio, helping launch careers of other people. I worked on records for In This Moment, The Black Dahlia Murder, The Human Abstract, God Forbid, which is how I met Paul.
That's right.
Paul was a studio drummer coming into the recording studio I worked at. And here we are now getting the spotlight shown on us. It's great, man. It's fantastic.
It's definitely a good feeling. But the thing that you talked about, the element of surprise. Now, you follow your intuition. You create something, you think it's pretty cool, but everybody feels positively about the stuff that they create.
Right.
Like we knew that making the codex, that writing songs in this format where they sort of double as a musical composition and also like a spell or an orison or a prayer or something. There's an element of risk there. You do not know before you kind of put all that stuff out into the wild exactly how it's going to be received. It's always a little intimidating putting anything out that you create, but particularly when it's got that when it's not been done. You have no one to ask, hey, is this a good idea? You're just like, okay, witchy weirdos, here's our stuff, and just kind of throw it against the wall and see how it's received. So it's definitely surprised, but definitely grateful, because we do have the good fortune, I think, at this point of being able to examine the reactions that we've gotten, and they are overwhelmingly positive. So it's very, very good feeling.
And to expand on that and sort of flip the script on you a little bit there, Carl, you were one of, if not the first, to say yes to us. And it does get, I'm not going to say old, but it'll beat you down hearing people tell you no about your creative output over and over and over and over and over again. It might even make you not want to do it anymore, right? So you've seen it the whole time. You were, like I said, you were the first person to say yes, just to even give us an album review. And so to see it kind of come full circle, people just start saying yes a lot more. And that's positive feedback enough for me personally.
I'm really, really glad to hear that. It's awesome that the name is being spread out a bit more, because I know how incredibly difficult that can be. I'm a very, I love a wide array of music within the rock and metal world and so on. And I listen to certain bands, and yourselves are a great example of this, where I think, my God, this is incredible. Why aren't more people talking about it? But then the sensible part of me knows that there are a lot of voices out there, all trying to scream into the same void, taking up the same amount of space. So it can be incredibly difficult to get your specific voice heard. What's one of the most difficult things for you guys to get your voice heard, and how do you think you can overcome it?
Oh, I can tell you immediately, having no voice at all. we don't have a singer in the band. So being an instrumental band is immediately that much more difficult to climb the hill. We were recently picked up by a very awesome fella named Scott from the airport in New York. And Scott works for a radio marketing company. And he was helping us get from one side of Manhattan to the other side of Manhattan to play a show. And it was like a 4-hour ride.
4 hours to go 15 miles.
Crazy.
New York City, baby.
But as a radio marketing representative, he told us flat out, it's going to be tough for you guys because you don't have a singer, period. You know, he's telling, hey, Sirius won't even touch you. Like, so what do you do if Sirius won't even touch you because you don't have a singer?
But I like to believe, you know, and again, this falls into that delicate category of being optimistic about what you're doing creatively, you know, and then having to see how that measures up against reality when you put it out into the world. One thing that we definitely do in a very conscious way as a band, given that we do not have a singer, and we want, you know, you people are used to memorizing lyrics. You know, I mean, Glenn Benton from Deicide is literally screaming like a dragon. I know so many Glenn Benton lyrics. It doesn't even have to be singing, but people are. They're very attached to singers. They're very attached to lyrics. And so we meter out any guitar shred stuff very carefully and with a lot of forethought. We always want to make sure that there's a bold, singable melody or melodies in everything that we write. So I remain optimistic. You know, there's an amazing array of bands that have brilliant musicians on every instrument. But I don't know. I hope and hope against hope that maybe just having those big, bold, singable choruses, man.
Oh yeah,
you know?
for sure. I don't see it as I just see it as something to work against or work for. I don't necessarily, I'm not saying it's going to hold us back. It's not, hey, look, you can tell we're not exactly spring chickens. We're not giving up anytime soon. And for a couple of fellas our age, it's actually kind of unique to kind of see the career picking up at this point. Usually it's winding down for guys.
Oh, you're a dad by this point.
Totally, yeah. Grandpa even, you know, who knows? But it's not going to hold us back. It's just definitely what I have found. It's definitely a hurdle. It's probably one of our biggest hurdles as an instrumental act. It's just not having a singer.
Yeah, and I'll imagine you get the same. You imagine you get the question: have you, you know, would you ever consider having one? I don't want to ask you that. What I want to ask you is: have you ever experimented with the idea?
We've been in bands that had singers.
Oh yeah.
One of our one of our first bands was a death metal band called We All Have Day Jobs. and our buddy Max, our very good friend Max, was the singer for that band. Brutal, like, trained on like Corpse and Deicide and stuff. And it was awesome. You know, it was really cool. The format that you see before you of it just being the two of us wasn't because we necessarily didn't want to have more personnel. It's just that every project that kind of froze in carbonite, you know, and we were always the guys that wanted to keep going. So it was a decision. It was just kind of the logistics of how do we keep going in a way that other people can't shut us down if they want to take a different life path or something happens. So,
yeah, I mean, for example, our good buddy Max that we're talking about from We All Have Day Jobs, he lives in Tennessee now, so we're not even in the same state as him anymore. On other bands that we had played in, our bass player, I remember playing a sold out show down in Denver. Our good buddy Nick, bass player for the band, shows up and he's like, "Hey guys, remember how I've been sending in resumes to Tesla for the last couple of years? Well, I got an interview and they're flying me out tomorrow morning. This is going to be my last show."
Wow.
What do you say to that?
Yeah.
You know,
no, Nick, don't go move to Sparks, Nevada with your wife and your daughter and make 6 figures. Stay in our Denver area prog band. Like, not a solid sell.
Not a solid sell, exactly. And for what we're pumped, he landed the job.
He did.
And Nick's life has forever changed. And
that's right.
Congratulations to him. In that same band, the other guitar player we played with is Michael Stansel, who famously is the lead guitar player for Allegiant now. And so what do you do?
Yeah,
you know?
obviously he's got to do his thing with Allegiant, man, you know.
Yeah.
So like Paul said, it distilled down to just the two of us, and here we are.
And I'm glad for it, to be honest, guys. I can't even imagine, I don't even want to imagine certain songs of yours with any concept of something like Captains of Industry. I never, it is beautiful as it is. Let's not be playing around with that with any kind of singing. I can't even imagine it.
Well, thanks, Carl. That's very nice of you to say.
Well, guys, I've got one more for you then, and this is a simple one, really. What's a realistic goal you would like to achieve before the end of 2022?
The end of 2022, a realistic goal.
You know what? Either, if not recording, at the very least rehearsing music for our next release. I think probably a realistic goal before the end of this year is that we could be at least rehearsing one or two new songs.
Yeah, I'm right there with Paul. We've been working on and touring behind Colt for a while now, even though it seems it just came out. We've been working on this one for a while.
Yeah, it's kind of old hat not old hat, but just, we've been experiencing in a variety of different ways this record for a while now.
Yeah, so we're both chomping at the bit to get the new formulas and the new spells out. Honestly, we're ready.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to ask you one more because you've just prompted me there. What does the kind of live calendar look like? Are you still planning to keep as busy as humanly possible, considering you've been unable for a long period of time not really to do anything? Are you going to keep ensuring that you can, if the opportunities come up to go out and play live, continues? And although it might be a big ask at this stage, maybe over the next couple of years, spread yourself even further afield?
Yeah, absolutely. We did have some talks earlier this year to make a trip over to Europe that didn't necessarily pan out yet, but we have recently started working with a booking agent. Whereas as we started talking to you at the beginning, you were either talking to me or Paul. So things are progressing for us, but. I'm sorry, I kind of wandered or meandered there.
All good. Well, no, I mean, essentially the goal is now and will continue to be for the tenure of this project to put the pedal to the proverbial metal net. We want to get over the pond. We're going everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've got quite a few shows on the schedule. Yeah, definitely no signs of slowing down. If anything, it's just speeding up at this point.
Yeah, we as both as Pathos and Logos and in our previous projects had a unusually protracted period of research and development for all of this stuff. And we've been kind of, you might describe it as waiting in the wings for a long time. And so now that there does seem to be a little bit of traction and forward motion, they're going to just go nuts.
Good. It sounds like you're very, very encouraged by what the future holds. Comes through talking to you here, and I can't wait to see it. Gents, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Carl. We appreciate the hell out of you as well, man.
Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favor, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror, and heavy metal. What else is life for?